Hey, what's up? I got another video, and with this one, I want to say that if you follow the most recent previous video to this, I'm something called me personally, I'm something called a sapiosexual, which means that one thing that's attractive to me in people in life is learning and communication and learning and intelligence, and then faith, because to me, faith is the highest form of intelligence and informs all other forms of intelligence. Just that attitude and stance of having faith. So with this type of content, a lot of the content on the channel with the last video, I'm definitely the last thing that I've said that the author Chris Hedges has said that in certain regions of economically disenfranchised parts of the earth, they see vehicles with certain insignia on it that's ostensibly like humanitarian, and they run for their life. They really run. They get little, they duck, they book, and they get up out of somewhere when they see certain things that are presented as good for another person. I'd imagine that a lot of those things they're running from would present themselves as being very concerned. So that's about I'm rocking with that, and that's about how I feel about anything that would be concerned about me. Because if something's concerned about me, that means it has it. Another way of saying concerned is active interest. Something has an active interest in you if it's concerned with you. And since human beings are predators in the first place, I think some of the manipulation that's like our acting and pretensions in socializing, it's facilitated by the fact that we're omnivores, I think, which is that we have the capacity to be both herbivores and carnivores, and we forget that we're still yet carnivores within all that, and therefore predators, and therefore we exist within a system, finance, but also nature, that's zero sum. That is, you give, you take. Something, there's more of something here, there's less of something there. Even life essence, opportunities, resources, you have to take in order to get. So, and since they say the first rule of nature is self-preservation, maybe a better term would be self-interest. Most, if not all things, are self-interested in the first place. So that one thing would be self-interested, and then from that standpoint be interested in you. Did it stop being self-interested? Likely not. So therefore, your interest, what you are of interest to something, is part of its self-interest that is predatory. So by and large, anything with an active, intelligent interest in us would have to be some form of predation, likely. There's an exception to all things, and you have all different. Maybe the only thing more diversity than diversity is the type of predation that exists in nature. How many lethal, beautiful, treacherous creatures can you imagine in the ocean? How many beautiful, deadly, treacherous, well-concealed predators can you imagine in your phone, such as like advertisers and people collecting data, and users that are attempting to get you into some form of agreement to punish you and disenfranchise you economically, if not God knows what else. How many of those can you imagine in your phone or online and in life in general? So this concern thing is something that I would be concerned about. And then another one is and that's not touching about these different creatures called professionals. that might be I just should do a safari about the different type of high tier animals called professionals. That might be another form of like if you combine if you were to combine like I think it's called canine, a feline. Those are like some of your outstanding, efficient predators that have survived for a long time to show how good they are. And then you have like your crocodiles and alligators. I'm not sure what the tier, like an amphibian something. And then you take your sharks. I don't know what the scientific classification is. And you combine all that, and then you take a sapien, like a mammal that had once climbed trees. That's violence par excellence. You don't see anything as vicious as like some chimpanzees or some gorillas or some humans. You take all that, you mix it in a pot, and you study it, and you have the vocabulary to go with all that insight, but that same interest. And now you have a professional on your hands. That's some dangerous shit. Be careful around professionals. Even for you, some of you you journalists and you scientists and you people doing documentaries and research. Be careful around those professionals, because you open your mouth. They had this thing that a professional can do where it's like, I don't know if you've ever seen like Prometheus. It's similar to Jurassic Park, where the heavyset guy, he's pretty intelligent, but he wasn't intelligent enough to keep his mouth shut around that creature he hadn't seen before that would spit in his face like that. That might be the lower tier of professional that would just simply spit in your face and jack you up like that. But then there's another one in Prometheus, which is like Alien like that. And you see a similar type of guy that's like a little bit too agreeable, too kind, too, I think it might be like congenial. It's the same kind of attitude that heavyset guy had in Jurassic Park, but you see that in Prometheus. And that, I think he had glasses like that, so I took my glasses off. But that same kind of agreeableness, pushover, that would have you open your mouth around something in Prometheus or Alien. Then one of these creatures, like it's like a fist, it's like a giant fist creature, and it comes down your throat, and then it comes up out your abdomen, and it eats you up like that. The professionals are just like that, just like that. You open your mouth around, and you don't even have to be an adult yet. You can still be a minor. You open your mouth around these professionals, and they'll do you like that. They don't waste much more time than those ones in the Alien. But actually, the Alien is as beautiful and true to life as the spirit of survival in the movie Alien is. They're still a little bit uneducated, the aliens, because I didn't see them like take notes, or like they might have just been going purely off instincts. But the actual professionals, they perfect the technique. They collaborate on the research, and then they have like a network of like keeping your identity. They can even block you for jobs. As deadly and cold as Alien is, I didn't see them block the aliens blocking anyone from jobs. So they had actually had the opportunity to have jobs like space research to get all the way to that planet. So you could say they might have been like tourists, like victim tourists, where they wanted to tour like having something horrible happen. But a lot of us, we weren't necessarily setting out like that. But the professionals, they can also block you from employment. So those ones, you have to count your blessings. And those people that got jacked up in those sci-fi movies, they actually had a job in the first place. And maybe they drew the short hat that got them in the position that got jacked up. But us, the professionals, can actually obstruct you from employment and different opportunities. And then they also take notes about you, which is the more mean-spirited thing of the whole thing, is the tone in the notes. But be careful when you're doing research about the professionals like that, because but the professionals, they're different than the aliens, because I think the aliens, they just want like your life force in your body to impregnate you. But the professionals, they more so, they go for the gusto. I'm not gonna say what the gusto is, but they go for the gusto. So you open your mouth, and you might not have you might not have a couple of things that are the only things going for you. So you walk into a professional, all you got is your name and maybe a couple other things that are going for you. You open your mouth around that professional, you no longer have your name, potentially a couple of things that you got going for you, and it's pretty bad. And then the worst part about it is that they take notes. Taking notes is almost kind of like, if you can imagine like a really mean-spirited child that would like do something mean to animals. I don't mean to make light about hurting creatures, but you imagine like a little bit of like overkill that a child would do. That's how professionals do people after they consume them, their livelihood and their self-respect, and their standing and some of their opportunity, and then they go over the notes like that, and that's like a little bit of overkill, but also like a little bit sadistic to my taste. But they're dangerous, so that would be concern. And then another one is you got concern, and then all I meant to say is something that takes an active interest in you. It might not be for your favor. So you have but with that, I'm not making these videos to ask for sympathy, because first you have concern, then you have sympathy, and sympathy isn't as bad as concern, but it's just like, yeah, you're never getting anywhere with me with this one, but that's so sorry what happened to you. But you can still take an injury to your self-esteem with sympathy. Empathy is better, because empathy is identifying with you and with your struggle and as you, and really recognizing that we're one person, I think. So empathy goes further. But I still would be weary around empathy, unless I can touch it, unless it bends over. If I'm being honest, I want empathy that can bend over and still has a little bit of danger to it, or like even just a little bit of flavor, because you need a little bit of bittersweet for something to be good. So I'd like that bittersweet empathy that bends over. And then also, unless I can use it as a resource to access like another opportunity, or like to get like food or something like that. I'm not asking for that right now, but I'm just saying that's the only kind of empathy I'd be interested in. But beyond that, active interest in us is not good. But one thing that I think is cool is learning. So I'm offering these videos for the sake of learning, so people can learn from my experience and people like me for the greater benefit of other people coming into this and behind this.